Senator Renz.
If I could, thank you. I think the ranking member has perhaps hit on what is one of the key issues that many of us feel has to be addressed. And that is that in this particular case, this amendment would actually ask the rule makers to decide whether or not they could void a law passed by Congress and allow them to recreate the rules the way that they want to interpret them without any oversight from Congress. In other words, what this would do is to suggest that the agency itself could look at our legislation as passed, and then if it increases cost, in their determination, they could then eliminate the direction of the Congress of the United States. That's wrong, and that is exactly getting to the heart of what the problem is with what's going on with the bureaucracy in Washington today. They're creating 3,500 more rules every single year. We have 1 million rules on the books today. None of them have been approved by the elected members of Congress. They are put into effect, and there is no oversight today. Perhaps the way we fix it is that in the future, this Congress takes back the responsibility to actually make sure that the rules that are being put in place follow the guidelines and understanding and interpretation of the Congress which passed the rule or the law in the first place. I really do believe that that is what this is all about.
Would my colleague yield for just a brief?
I would.
I appreciate your comments because I think many of us share the responsibility we have in Congress to oversight agencies. I take that very, very seriously. The challenge is that we don't have the same capacity to do the scientific peer reviews that the agency does, to use best science, to do all that is implied in the Clean Water Act. It was always the intent of Congress that it be based upon science and that there be scientific peer review data that is used and that there be cost analysis must be done. All that must be done. It's done by the agency. We should be oversighting that. I agree with you. But how do we proceed if they can't get a regulation done?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Science Advisory Board was designed to actually be addressed or to address the issues as presented to them, not only by the agency itself, but also by this committee. If you take a look at the GAO report, which was just done and completed and passed out, it suggests very strongly that they're not being asked for those analysis in terms of what the costs are today. So not only should the agency take into account what the Science Advisory Board could do if requested, but then it should be shared with us as to where they came up with the analysis of what the actual costs are. I don't believe that that's occurring right now either. I understand the need for good rules, but I still think the elected officials in this country should have the ability to look back and to review and to do the oversight on a regular and ongoing basis of what those rules should look like when they are implemented, so that the laws that are put in place today, when they are implemented correctly, follow the spirit and the intent of the law itself. I don't believe that the rules today that are being put in place necessarily do that, or that we have the system in place right now that effectively oversees that implementation. Until such time as that occurs, the only way that we have in which to stop a bad law or a bad rule from going into effect is to literally pass an act by Congress. And that's what we're trying to do today, to replace and to say, we've seen what the rules are that you're putting in place. We see what you're trying to do. We disagree. And if we disagree, then we will rewrite a part of the law or amend the law so that you can't do what you're trying to do or what you misunderstand our intent was in the first place.